Yeah. That's kind of where we're at, really. I mean, Ray Hunt, Tom Dorrance, those guys were the beginnings of some different thinking, different methods of working with these guys and getting, some good cooperation, partnership. But it's gone past that, which is so great. And, we're tapping into things on a much more conscious level with their nervous system. And when I started doing them 20 years ago, 25 years ago, we would do the round penning, a little bit like Monty Roberts stuff, and it's really, theoretically, it's negative enforcement, right? Because pressure, and then when they get it right, you take the pressure off, right. Which still has its place, absolutely. Negative reinforcement, positive reinforcement, but the way we've taken it the last few years is even more about connection. So it starts with getting their attention, connection, nurturing that natural curiosity that they have, it's so valuable. And so many of them are so shut down, and they're shut down into this learned helplessness state that they lose their natural curiosity. So, and they just become little machines. My approach is using that curiosity, helping them show some value in us and what we're doing, and some, fulfillment, enjoyment. There's absolutely something between horse and human that why would they do this with us? They're not forced, some are to do certain things, but, if you can get them connected and engaged and working with you, learning how to control their own emotions and when they're triggered, and keep control of their body, which is where you're going to get into a panic. If they're triggered, panic, flight, they leave, on it goes. But if they can learn a way to self-soothe and make decisions how to get soft instead of their natural instinct is to leave, then you mix that with your traditional training as well, your hunter jumper prep, put it all together and you've got the best of both worlds, which is, it's really cool. And we've had some really troubled horses come in the last few years, horses that trainers have had that have flipped over backwards. They have no groundwork. They try to get on them. They have two people holding their heads down. They're like, get on, ride it out, whatever. And the horses see no value in people. They're afraid. They don't trust. It hurts. It's scary. Now, here you go. Here, fix it. Right? But those ones, honestly, they've been so fascinating. Big projects, but they have come around with this approach so beautifully, and just on my own too. Like, sometimes I work with Lisa or my other rider, and sometimes I do them on my own. The tougher ones I usually do on my own because I have a very strong connection with them. And when you bring another energy in your space, it can affect that a little bit. So, if I little examples, one a couple years ago who had flipped over when she was panicked and was backed and wasn't prepared. If I brought a different energy in the round pen, I would feel much better, just her and I, what we've worked on, and move on to that next step, than bringing in something new that could shake her confidence a little bit. Anyway, so these two have been really fun, really interesting, because the other one had a little bit of a round pen experience. So you'll see that they're quite different. And this one hadn't done anything, right? Not hadn't had a scare. Yeah. Yeah, into the panic. So, good boy.
I love when they're aware like that.
Yeah. So this, basically, I want them to see some value in paying attention to me. I don't want to force them to. I want to see some engagement and encourage that. And it's not about chasing them around or tiring them out. The first few days I was in here with them, it's just we can do some drawing exercises, get his attention just by upping your energy a little bit and remove that pressure. And you can start getting a little bit of curiosity there. Hey, mister, I know we're past that. Yes, good boy. And you're going to get them hooked on. And he hasn't trotted, hasn't cantered, hasn't exhausted him. You haven't gotten mad at him for not, like, you can do it at a walk. And it's just about getting their attention, getting their ear, taking some pressure off, doing some drawing exercises. And it's not about, you know, it's scary and stressful out there and it's comfortable in here. Because if it's scary and stressful out there, you're going to have more troubles in other ways, right? So let's move around a little bit. Okay. And I want to see their body stay soft. They're going to go through patterns of being triggered and not triggered. Good boy. And I'm going to put some passive pressure on them, which is this flag, just to say, hey, I'm in the middle here. I want you to think about something. I'm asking you a question. The answer to the question is to get soft. So he's fairly soft right now, but his head carriage is a little bit high, right? He dropped in a little bit. So I'm going to just kind of keep asking this passive question. So then when he softens that little bit, my energy stops to say, yes, that's the right answer. The answer is to get soft no matter what. So there's, right now that is, I know, good boy. I'm going to move a little bit this way. So we're going to do the same this direction. Just some, and it's, he can do it at a trot. He doesn't have to canter. If he feels he has to canter, that's fine. I just keep my energy super neutral. Good, there. And he gets soft and he comes in. Good boy. That's a boy. So you start, when you repeat this stuff, you start building that rapport with them, that it's softness feels good, work feels good to connect, it feels good. Nothing's like, you will come here, you will soften, you will, right? They've discovered it on their own just with some questions that I'm asking. Good. I like to do the loose work before the line work, just to start bringing some awareness to their body, their shoulders, being able to yield and change direction. So that little circle was super soft. He had that inside ear. Good. So I didn't even have my passive question. It was just neutral because he knew the answer before. He's just offering it, that's magic, right? Now he's been interesting. He's the second Valentino that blocks me from this side. And this direction change is hard for him. Now, and he does that little away turn. So we'll do a few turns and I'll show you. I'm curious, like what does that mean? Is it a visual thing? Does he have something physical in his body that he's blocking? Like he's certainly fine on his left eye to do anything with. He's not, frightened. But when I draw him in, he watched from your spot, see that? He just went out with his left shoulder and he stands and he puts me here instead of here. And when I go here, right? So, and he's very happy to yield his shoulder this direction. And stay good, so nice. We'll draw him in. Good boy. He says, I don't want to go the other way. So keep an eye on that, right? Maybe have a chiropractor look at him, maybe a body worker, somebody. It might be a physical thing. And sometimes it's just a mental block. It's not like he won't go, and he yields the shoulder, and he flexes to the left, and he flexes through his ribs. But if you gave him the choice, he blocks and would prefer to go to the right. Yeah. Good boy. Well, to me, that would make it harder for him to flex right if the left is tight, right? Good boy. He's funny, we were playing games the other day, running. I'll see if he'll do it with me. When I first, I don't know, a couple weeks ago when I went to jump, I would do that, and he'd go, ah! Right? Now he's like, oh, you're just a weird person. And then, we'll increase our energy a bit, and he's like, where are we going? What are we doing? What's going on? Why are you running around like an idiot? Right? But I love that, like, curiosity and engagement. Good boy. Yes. So that's first steps, right? You've got a horse that's paying attention, finds softness, feels good, is interested. Ooh, what does this lady have to say? Yeah. And then you can start doing stuff. If you don't do that first and you just start doing stuff and they're like, brains are out there, how can any of them be expected to like put it together, or if you don't have 100% of them, right? Even 80%. Usually you have about 10%, right? So once we have a little bit of a rapport, actually, we do a little bit of line work just for some body awareness. Following a feel in the halter. I like him to be able to yield his shoulders. Good. Come walk, buddy boy. Good. I like that little inside bend and the attention he's giving me. Good boy. And the softness in his body. I know. So every time he's doing that, now somebody would get mad at him for that and be like, get out there, get going. He's offering me things, okay? So if you change your perspective on that and you understand he's not evading, he's offering me something that felt good, and he's not doing it for any other reason than to participate. Good. So just being able to move their bodies, forward and back in a soft way, some awareness, good boy. Yield that shoulder. A little pressure in the halter, a little energy to that shoulder. And that buttery feel he has there, that's what you want. You don't want to be this into pressure. Ooh. Good. And if they get, crowding a little bit between the direction changes, I just like to back them up a few steps. Good boy. And then ask him to yield this shoulder. So if you're lunging him, one of my biggest pet peeves is, or not even a pet peeve, but I just think it's hilarious. Horses learn to do this, and people are like trying to get behind them to get them to right, go that way. That's ridiculous, okay? Lunging should be about opening the door, moving forward. It shouldn't be about chasing them forward, because immediately you have an anxiety of the pressure that's unnecessary. Yes, they need to move along, but they don't need to be chased, right? So if you're lunging him and you're not quite sure what to do from this position when he's facing you, back. No, I know again, like he's not evading, he's trying to offer me stuff because he knows we're going to do something. Good boy. But learning this is just as important too, right? But you see his posture, he's just like, not a worry in the world. Hey, friend? So from this position, you're just going to open your right hand and put some energy right here. And he will move on to that circle. And you can then make it as big as you want to do, right, if you're lunging. And the first steps of lunging, so if he does that, again, open that right hand, a little bit of energy. Good boy. To stop them, I like to do a back end disengage like that. So you're just going to lift your hand to that hip. And he has been taught to stop and face me. Because stopping and staring into nothingness is not connection. It is more advanced lunging. They all learn how to do that eventually. But when they're doing baby stuff, they learn to stop and turn and say, hey, what's next, right? Okay, so he's not evading. That is same thing. So we're going to go the different direction. Open my left hand, keep a little pressure on that halter till he softens and comes forward. Good boy. Good boy. And then lift that hand to the hip and he disengages. Very good. So then we move on to some trigger work. Sight, sound, touch, and approach. So it was kind of fascinating work. So I'm going to trigger him with sight, and he's going to decide, what do I do when I'm triggered? Do I leave? Do I freeze? Do I get soft? Do I buck and run? And what do I do, right? So I like to stand against a panel just to help them find the answer at first and have less choices. So he can't run circles around me, right? That's one of them that's gone. So and then I'm just going to trigger him, which he's not. But he's staying thoughtful. He's not freezing. But he hasn't given me what I'm looking for yet. There. And a little sigh. So when I first did that, you can imagine. Wah! But the thing is, God, he learned in like 2 repetitions, 3. And people run into a problem with desensitizing horses. I'm not desensitizing him. I don't want him to ignore it. I want him to stay present, be thoughtful, and make a conscious decision to go, okay? Yeah, because so sacking out can be the same with touch. Actually, we'll do it once more. See. Good, yes. So he knows the answer whenever he's triggered should be to just, okay, you can reprogram that. The same with touch. So, we're going to be touching, touch him anywhere. He's being thoughtful, but he's a little bit frozen. I'd like to see him make a conscious decision to, sometimes you can help them too. I'm going to put a little, good boy, pressure on that halter just to say, but the fact that he's staying present, he's staying thoughtful, he's not tuning me out, and he has a little soft bend in his body, ask again, is a good answer for me, right? And then the same with approach, right? Approach and that touch, he's like, you can imagine the first time you do that, yes. So sacking out, flinch, people do it, and then they stop flinching, then they stop sacking out. But they're usually in freeze. They're not in acceptance. So if you stop sacking them out at the freeze, you are teaching them to ignore what you're doing. Sometimes I have babies come in and people are like, oh, I've done this, I've done that, I've got a tarp, and I've done all this stuff. They have taught them for 2.5 years to ignore everything. And it's a bloody nightmare. Because then all of a sudden, I'm asking them to notice, be present, make decisions, and be sensitive and responsive. But they've been taught for 2.5 years to not be responsive and to not be sensitive, and it's a nightmare. Exactly. And the problem with that theory, sure, you can desensitize them and think that you have, you're making progress. There will always be something bigger than what you have desensitized them to. Whereas if you just teach them to make a conscious decision when you're triggered and reprogram that natural flight then nothing is too big. A little more, buddy. Yeah. Good boy. We do the same. So sight, sound, touch, and approach. We're going to do sound. I thought he would lose his mind. This is some of the stuff that Tristan Tucker does. Yeah, he does some really great work. And, I watch a lot of trainers that are on some great paths, and I take what I like and leave what I don't and blend, certain things that I find fit what we're doing. Anyway, the first time I did this, I honestly thought he was going to leave town. I don't know what he'll do today, but he just looks at me like I'm a weirdo, right? So he's a little triggered. He's being thoughtful. Yeah. And he basically is now feeling like he can control his environment. So if he can control his body, control his environment, and feel soft and feel good, then you can do anything. So that's the prep work we do. Anybody boy? And I like to tack them up out here for the first few times. We do get to the point we do it in the barn, but I want to work through stuff. Like, can we approach, if he's triggered by anything I'm doing, is he coming up with the same answers to get soft? And are you going to block me that side? Yeah? You can't do that if they're held still in cross ties. So I want them to be able to show me how they're feeling, what they're thinking. I want to work through any triggers, show them, how to make the good decisions to feel soft. I don't want them to feel like they're held here to then have a pressure added. I want him to be with me and be participating by choice as well, and which he absolutely is, right? He's watching me, he's paying attention, he's not worried, he hasn't tensed up, but he's very present. And we always go really slow with girthing. I mean, you can prevent a lifetime of girth issues if you're just a little bit considerate at the beginning, or always, really. Even in the barn, I put it on like 1 and 1, just enough that it's safe to leave, right? And then between barn and mounted work, I probably tighten it 4 or 5 times, little increments at a time. And we never have girthy, angry horses, elastic both sides. How would you feel? Think about, it's just, I don't know, being a little more thoughtful with work. Okay? Actually, back up a little bit, mister. Okay. Bridling, people go and put a bridle on their horse. Well, can you touch your horse's lips without them going, right? That's step 1. Touching them and them not reacting, teaching them, so if he was to react right now, I'd stay here until he softened and got soft again, which is the answer. And, you do that 2 or 3 days before you bridle, and now you have a horse you can bridle that doesn't lift you off your feet. Right? It's just like simple, thoughtful things that are, I guess, not so simple, right? People aren't aware of them. The first time we bridle as well, I know. I always use this one. Yeah, okay. It's plastic, super light. I like it because if they were to accidentally, shift their head or bump or whatever, you're not going to hit their teeth. And if you hit their teeth with metal the first month of bridling, you can create, it hurts, right? It's like hitting your teeth with your utensils. The noseband, we just put them on just for, because, sometimes I pull them right off if they're problematic, but they're just loose, they're just there. I mean, these guys are getting prepped for hunter jumper world, and, traditionally they need to be comfortable in traditional tack, and we can certainly think outside the box if there's any specific cases, but that are unhappy, but like to blend that stuff. Hey, mister, we'll do one more here. So I'm just going to move him around just so you can feel the girth, and then we'll get Lisa up on him. Good boy. Good. And I want to see the same, soft body, inside ear. Good boy. With tack, with stirrups down, as we do when he's good. Just loose, with nothing on. Good. Good boy. That's a boy. Good. There's a nice sigh. One this way. I know. So I'm just going to increase my energy a bit, because I know you know the answer. Good boy. No. Itchy. Enter. Good. Oh. Yeah, good boy. Good boy. See, he's still blocking. He's still just that overbend a little bit to the right. And I know, we have to go a little bit left. I know. And I know that's the judgment call too. Sometimes, you can get caught up in listening to them or making excuses for them. You've got to be, when to push, when to back off, when to listen, when to challenge them a little bit, when to be like, I know you know this, I'm not over-facing you. Good. Good. Oh, that's a boy. Good boy. There's the shift. I don't know. That's your puzzle to figure out. Yeah, you're a good boy. Okay? It's like, you're going to make me go that way. I know. It's good to go, Lisa. I mean, there's lots of little steps. We'd need like hours to show you everything, but we don't have that time. But even, at first we back and ride with the rope halter, and long line with the rope halter, and don't, stay off their mouth completely. And he can understand to follow a feel that way, right, on the rope halter, and then you're able to transfer it to his mouth. But you see the difference, like how soft he is with that, and then the mouth, little resistance, but getting there, right? So it's kind of interesting. The bridling and the bitting mouth stuff adds brace, adds some anxiety, pressure, tension. So doing it all at once, that's why we are starting just in halters now. I know. Good boy. Then you add the bit at a later time, because you've already accomplished so much more and they're much more self-confident. Then when you ask them the question of carrying a bit, they're much more prepared for it.
That's good.
Good boy. Yeah. Good boy. That's it. See how he just answered that all on his own? He was like, I'm a bit worried. And then he got soft. Hey? I know. And I think a big thing is giving these guys a little bit of time to think and process and percolate. People rush through stuff, and good boy. Just give them a minute. Give them a minute to be okay, to be conscious and make a decision. And people flood them because they're afraid of them or they're afraid of what they might do. I know you're a little overachiever today, aren't you? Good. Outside rein. Yeah, good boy. So as they're getting ready for riders, we got rider up and we just sit really quiet. Not so much to stay out of their way, but just to simplify. And they're listening to me. He's locked on to me. Good. And as they come along, we start adding a little bit more pressure from the rider, a little bit of leg, little voice, little rein contact, and start blending my aids with Lisa's aids so that he understands and can kind of pick up and walk. Good boy. Start picking up from her, and then I start backing off. So, good. We'll go for a trot. Trot. Good. Again, like giving him a minute, getting organized. He's carrying a rider. He's got to do a transition. I don't want to chase him into a trot and scare him or have the rider shift balance and big trot. Trot. Good. Good. Push. Good. And walk. Ooh. No. Good boy. And trot. Yeah. That's softer. There you go. Good boy. Good. So nice. And walk. Good. And let's change direction. You got it. Yeah, good boy. Good job. Good. And trot. Trot. Big trot. Good boy. Never mind. Good. And walk. And trot. Trot. Hey. Good boy. Push. Good. There you go. And walk. Good. Change rein. Good boy. There, better. Good boy. And trot. Big trot. Push. And a strong trot.
Big trot. Big trot.
And a slow trot. Slower. Yeah, good boy. And a strong trot. Push. There. And slow trot. If you notice this whole time, Lisa's remained super light on the bridle. It's all about her seat, her posting, the feel she has with him. They all come like this, clean slate, listening to your body, and walk, change rein. Actually, I'll let you off. And you have every opportunity to get it right and perfect and soft and lovely and listen to your seat instead of hands first, you know. Good boy. Good boy. And go for a trot. Big trot. So Lisa's starting to add a little leg. See how she does a little loose ankle bump bump instead of a squeeze. Squeezes can make them feel kind of claustrophobic and panicky, so we always just do a light bump bump. You've got to be really conscious of the pressures you put on them in early days so that they understand and they've got that freedom to go forward and not bunch up and get stuck. Good boy. And a strong trot. I know, you're so smart. Push. And a slow trot. Slower. And strong. And this just, you know, she's starting to use a little leg. He's starting to understand the feel of her seat. Good. And regular trot. Good boy. And he's very connected with me right now. And walk. Good. So one thing that we've started to do some away turns too. Let's prepare him for one. He gets a little bit confused because he loses me, right? Good. So for that split second, when I shift out of one eye into the other, he was freezing up a little bit. He's like, oh, I don't know what to do. And it's really just give him a minute, let him process. Lisa's asking with the correct aids, and then I'm backing up from the ground. You can do another one. Little inside. I know, good boy. Let him think about it. Good job. Walk on. Good boy. Now with your rain aid, you don't want to add any pressure. You want to just wait. Keep that pressure even and wait, because if you add pressure to something he already doesn't understand, you're just going to create problems, right? Just be patient and wait for them to make the right decision. Figure out the answer, right? Set him up for another one. Big walk. Good boy. Yes, good boy. There, good. You're getting it. Good job. So that's where we're at. He's a happy guy and he's figuring it out, and he's really never said no, and he's had some like big emotional like, oh my God, like when I do this. Yeah, we had a storm. And Lisa's like, so it's probably not a good day to do babies, right? And I'm like, they gotta work. On we go. I said, if you don't want to ride, then I'll just do long lining or something, but they've gotta experience it. So, and we came in and we rode, and he was a champ. And he notices, right? Oh, get soft, right? And he's really putting it together. Cool, you can hop down. Yeah.